Well, hello there, Meow Mentors. It's Cat Lady Justin, and this is the Kitty Boss. Pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. And today is the second Friday of the month as we're recording this, so it's our regular monthly catch up with the famous cat chaplain and cat behaviorist, Dr. Rachel Geller. And my friend Bella, yes, we are live. So there we go. I love those comments. They really keep me on my toes. But anyway, let's bring in Dr. Rachel and see how she's doing. Dr. Rachel, thanks for coming on the show again. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Justin. This is always such a pleasure. So thank you.
Oh, it is. It definitely is for me. And wait until you guys hear what Dr. Rachel is bringing to us today. It's something I didn't know about cats. So hold on. We'll talk about it in just a few minutes. And I love Bella Donna Doolittle, who seems to have been so eager to hear us today that she was there a bit early, started, no sound. She was really worried about where we were. We tend to, so just for future reference for everybody, really, I tend to start the live stream and just leave it for a couple minutes to run. And that, I think, makes it a little bit more stable, and it gives it time to sort of get the jet going, and also gives time for some people to tune in if they're late. And then I come on and do my intro, and then I bring my guest on. That's kind of the habit I've gotten into, and it seems to work pretty well. So it's, as we're recording this, it's April, and it is springtime. I have also celebrated my birthday 2 weeks ago, so I'm a bit older. And so we've got lots to talk about today. Our friend Joel Tan says, meow, meow. Well, meow back at you, Joel, and maybe a couple purrs too. But anyway, so back to the subject at hand. Our good friends, what's this? Long week of emergency kitty surgery to need some relaxation. Ah, yes. Well, anyway, Bella, I hope the surgeries went well, weren't too extraordinarily expensive. I was just talking about that today with my PA about surgeries and all that, because it could get expensive. And insurance, that's an issue. We're going to have to eventually do a show on insurance. Our friend Cat Savant says, happy belated birthday. Happy belated birthday to you. And I think I mentioned to you on your post that my PA who was here saw the your product, saw that on my table, actually, because it wasn't connected at the time. And she wants one. So she's going to get one through her relative in the USA, because she's here in Britain. So that's really cool. So for anyone who can see the screen, Cat Savant is where you want to go to find out more. And our friend, of course, the crocheting cat behaviorist with the most beautiful crochet hand-done products that you can use for you and your cats, as well as being a behaviorist, says, hey, friends. Well, hello there. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks. Of course. That's my pleasure. So, okay, back to the springtime with kitties and kitties and kitties. So our friends at Bella and Duke shared a really good article. Everyone who knows me knows that I am an evangelist for this particular brand of cat food, not because of any particular riches that I get out of this association, but because of the abundant health that it has given to my Emily and my Charlotte. I mean, dandruff gone in two days that has plagued them for 8 years and never came back. I mean, that is pretty miraculous. Just by switching their diet. And also, this is the best part, Charlotte, the long hair, used to get brushed every single day and still got knots and mats. Even I had to take her to the vet once for a shave, which cost me 60 British pounds. And now I don't even brush her. I must brush her 2-3 times a month maximum. And her fur is perfect. Everyone who sees her, who comes to the house, says, oh my God, her fur, how many times a day do you brush her? I don't brush her. A long hair cat that you don't brush. Now, you ever heard of that before? I haven't. And it's all thanks to the cat food. And then I didn't even mention the gingivitis that got away and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, if you are in the UK, send me a message, because this show is not about that. We had, of course, a whole show with the founder of Bella and Duke. But if you're in the UK, at this point, I recommend no other cat food, because at first I was reluctant to do that because of the fact that it could be expensive for people. but the founder made it completely a non-issue so that every single budget can afford to introduce some of this and the benefits of this. So there's literally no excuse, and no excuse not to try it, because the 2-week trial, is cheaper than anything you'll find at Poundland or Home Bargains or any cheap of the cheap cat food. So that's at least the trial, and then after that, he made it literally affordable to fit every budget. So it's the only food I recommend if you're in the UK. And if you're in the USA, I know of a couple. I know of Boss Cat brand. That's really good, but it's, maybe almost as good, if that makes sense, because this one is just out of this world. But and also I haven't tried the other one. I've just kind of tried to figure that out. So anyway, back to springtime. So our friends at Bella and Duke, and that's who they are, shared a wonderful article with the short list of the 11 sort of most common plants that are toxic to cats. Now, there's a huge list, and our good friends at Cat Protection created a robust list of that. But we don't have time to go over that. It would take like 6 hours, but they created a more robust list. Again, if you're listening or watching this, you can always send me a message and I'll send you a copy of that PDF, no problem, because it's a public service that our friends at Cats Protection did for everyone. But here's the short list that is actually very common for this season. And as we're entering into spring, I think it's really important. And I'm sure that at least on some of these, Dr. Rachel will have some commentary, especially around the Easter lilies. So the number one nasty plant that I recommend you absolutely eliminate from your life if you own a cat is lilies.
Yes, very toxic, very dangerous. It's funny, Justin, when you said about the very long list that you have, people will say to me, well, what plants are okay for a cat? And sometimes I'm a little flip and I'll say the plastic ones, the ones, because the list is so long. And the truth is, the list encompasses everything from the most toxic, like lilies. But the fact is that any cat who ingests any leaf or foreign substance or something that has pollen on it is at risk for getting, anything from an upset stomach to an obstruction to having, even if it's not deadly, having some type of allergic reaction to it. So, it's one of those things that you really have to be very, very careful with, whether it's on the list or not. But yes, lilies are the worst. And unfortunately, they're so beautiful. They smell so nice. People really like them in the house this time of year, but not a good idea if you have cats.
Yeah, definitely. So lilies is like the worst. It's kidney failure, guaranteed for your cat if they ingest the lily, or even if they get the pollen on their fur and lick it off. It's kidney failure, imminent. So please, if you have a cat, lilies is the number one thing. Just don't have lilies, and don't interact with. Don't go and brush up against a lily and have some on your coat and then cuddle your cat and kill your cat. Just don't do it. So that's number one. Number two is daffodils. So daffodils are another beautiful plant that is toxic to cats. So please avoid that one. Dr. Rachel, if you can stop me anytime you have extra commentary on any one of these, that'll be helpful rather than be trying to solicit anytime. Let's see. What is this? My Penelope even eats my
it never fails. I go the most overboard I possibly can, and there's always one in every cross.
There's always. Well, your Penelope is a princess, isn't she? And Penelope has her own social media presence, which is just great. Which so everyone should take a follow of Penelope, which is that. Anyway, so Princess Penelope. So there's some of these that I have little pictures of. And I think that is possibly helpful because we might not know what they look like. So I'm assuming everyone knows what a daffodil looks like and what a lily looks like. But anyone comment and tell me if you don't, and we'll send you a picture if you really need it. So then the next one, which I might show the picture of, is called the crocus autumn. The crocus. So now I've heard of it. I know what it is, but it's not something that I was totally aware of. I do get these in my garden, so I got to be really careful when the cats go out. Now, I'm going to try and put my phone up, but I can't put it like here because you'll see what happens. It goes blurry. So it's got to be by my face. Hopefully that helps. Now, I encourage everyone who can't really make that out, to go and Google it. But the crocus, another beautiful flower, is very dangerous for cats,
It
right?
does, it does kind of seem like the most lovely and fragrant flowers are the ones that they are most allergic to.
Roses are okay. Roses are okay. So the next one is an interesting one. Another thing that tends to wildly, appear in my garden is the foxglove. So I'll show you a picture of that. Now, foxglove, for those who don't know, is also the plant sort of where they get digitalis from. So, like medicine, heart medicine and stuff can come from the foxglove, and it's a real pretty, thing with bells on it and everything. And it is also toxic to cats, and to be very careful and avoid, and when I say it's in my garden, it's not because I grow it. It just tends to have wild seed in there. But also remember, for those who don't know, my cats are indoor house cats. So they don't really go out. And when they do go out with me, they're very much supervised. Like, like I am almost like oppressive big brother, over them. I watch their every move. The second they get too close to the hedge or whatever, I'm like, oh, oh, oh. I shout their name, and they know what that means. They know exactly what that means. So the foxglove is another one. Then here's one I didn't even know what this was. It's called a fritillary. So I'm going to try and show the picture. I'm sure I've seen these before, but that's going to be too small, I think. So you're going to have to Google it, guys. But fritillary, FRITILLARY. I didn't know what this plant was. It's quite common and really needs to be careful. Dr. Rachel, did you know what a fritillary is?
I have no idea.
Right.
I will
Okay.
say, though, like, to your point before that, people might think, oh, I'm not growing that in my yard, in my garden, but there are things that kind of spread. And, not to be overly alarmist, but, sometimes people will come into your home who have walked through, yards or places where there are these plants, and things that get tracked on your shoes into the house are an issue as well.
Yeah. Especially, we should be especially careful of that. I didn't think of that. That's
Year,
a good one.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. That's why I get paid the big bucks. I mean, this time of year we're out and about more. We're taking walks. We're enjoying the environment, and concurrently there tends to be more wind, and things are blowing around, and things are pollinating, and all kinds of things are happening in nature. And it's very easy to get on the bottom of our shoes, especially if you think of running sneakers or things like that. They have all those patterns on the soles. Not so much in a flat pair of dress shoes that you can wipe your feet when you come in, but things like running sneakers or hiking boots or lug-soled shoes, which I'm a dedicated follower of fashion. I have many of those myself. You have to really be careful to wash them, wipe them off before you come in.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the joke, Dr. Rachel does not get paid for her services. She volunteers them out of the goodness of her own heart. And I know what you're thinking. For those of you watching, for those of you listening, you don't know. But for those of you watching are thinking, how the hell does a 30-year-old woman afford to give away her services like that? Well, I am not here to sort of out anyone or reveal anything they don't want to reveal. But let's just say that if you do her birthday, you would want all of her beauty secrets, all of her fitness secrets. You would want to know what she eats. You would want to study her under a microscope if you knew what her birthday was. Well, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but my face is the color of your shirt. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, that's all right. So I'm just saying that because people watch it, they literally might think, what the hell does she know? Not because of anything other than you look too youthful to have any knowledge. I have the same problem. So I have the same problem. I walk into a boardroom. I'm older than half of the people in there, and they still think I got no experience. I'm like, well, you want to see my ID? It's not fake. I'm really that old. But so the fritillary is the other plant. And watch out what's on your feet, on your shoes, your dirty shoes. So the next one is juniper berries. Now, this one's interesting because you can sometimes make certain foods out of that. But the juniper berry, which again you might be able to see it, but you probably won't, is another plant it's dangerous. So you're going to want to be very careful with the juniper berry. And then here's another one that I actually also did not know what it was. And this picture is almost ridiculous because it doesn't, even if you saw this picture, you can't actually, make out what that is. So Google it. And it has a terrible name too. It's called dog bane. So of course it's toxic to cats. It's not called cat bane. It's called dog bane. But anyway, I don't know what it is. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, if you see dog bane, you're going to have to be careful. So I suggest, again, look up these things if you don't know what they are, but at least you'll have the list of the 11 most common ones here. So the next one is another really pretty one called the Star of Bethlehem. So I'm sure you know about that one, right?
Yes.
The Star of Bethlehem plant. Again, toxic to cats. So we got to be careful of that. And the next one is another beautiful little flower, but the little, I get them in my garden. They're little tiny flowers, but they're really nasty for cats. And they're called the periwinkle, just like the color. That's probably where the name of the crayon came from, is periwinkle. And it's this little flower, and it's sort of like bluish purplish type thing. And it's not good for cats. And the next one is called water hemlock. Now that's not surprising because, hemlock is, or a poison hemlock specifically is what killed Socrates, Plato's teacher in the Greek philosophy. Hemlock is poison. So if you have enemies, you can, make a tea out of it and serve it to them and kill them. I'm joking. Don't do that. But water hemlock is dangerous for cats. I know in my area, we get lots of it by the canal. So if anyone lives near me, and you let your cat out, be careful. If they wander over by the canal, they'll see tons of this stuff. And hopefully they don't ingest it. So water hemlock. And the last one is another one. I actually not too sure. It's another one of these. I'm not too sure what it is, but it's called the yew. Y-E-W.
Oh, yeah.
You know that one.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very toxic to cats. So the yew plant. So that's the list of 11. So I'll go through the list one more time so that everyone can write it down if they want to. So it's lilies, daffodils, crocus, foxglove, fritillary, juniper, dogbane, Star of Bethlehem, periwinkle, hemlock or water hemlock, and yew.
And according to our viewers, fake plants too.
and fake plants too, but actually fake plants it's not that it's toxic. It's more like what you always recommend. It can cause obstructions in the cat's digestive system, which then becomes a health hazard.
Yeah.
So we talked about those, but you mentioned something interesting at the beginning, which is the list of plants that are toxic is longer than the list of plants that are safe. So we actually have resources here for plants that are safe for cats. So there's 3 things that people can look up, or again, message me if you want. I'll send you the links. One is called Leaf Envy. It's a website. It's a UK website, so it's .co.uk. Leaf Envy. They have a list of plants that are safe for cats. Another one called The Little Botanical. They're a .com. They're a US based, pet-friendly, cat-friendly lists of cats. The Little Botanical. And the last one is Plant. Is patchplants.com. They also have a list of those. So there's resources for that too. And I think you're right that it's easier to look at that versus trying to remember the huge list of over 100 plants that are toxic to cats of varying degrees, obviously. So some are deadly, like we said, the lilies, but some, might just give like some discomfort, pain, indigestion, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But still to be avoided because you don't really want to do that to your cats, do you?
Yeah.
So
nobody wants a cat throwing up or in distress.
Yeah, I don't, or in pain or whatever. They're not so cuddly when they're in pain. And so shout out and big thanks to our friends at Bella and Duke for publishing that particular list in their most recent blog post article, and I think that's very helpful to know. So that's the first thing we want to talk about is plants. Is there anything else you want to add to it?
Just that also plants, many people are allergic to plants.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I know a lot of people are allergic to pollen, people are allergic to the different stuff floating around in the air this time of year, people are allergic to the plants budding, the trees budding and so forth. But just like us, our cats can have allergies as well. So cats can have allergies, cats can have asthma. So if you notice your cat's in distress, if you notice your cat is maybe panting, if you notice your cat seems to be struggling to breathe, or maybe after play, she seems to have to like catch her breath or rest a little bit, it's definitely worthwhile to talk to your vet about the possibility of your cat having asthma or some type of allergy.
Well, that's interesting. Cat asthma, not something I was, and cat allergies, not something I was aware that they got. But it's very important to know that they can get that, because obviously you could save them and you a lot of heartache, a lot of hassle, a lot of difficulties by getting that treated, and it
Yeah,
is treatable. So it's
it
worth
is.
exploring that option.
I had a cat that I had to give like a little, teeny tiny inhaler to for his asthma. So I
That's
really,
almost cute. It's like when I brush my cat's teeth, people find that cute when I
yeah,
just
yeah,
go, on
yeah.
their
It
little
was
teeth.
definitely cute, but I don't think people always realize, we're very aware of our own allergies and
Mm.
all of the allergens that seem to specifically come this time of year. But cats can also have seasonal allergies. Cats can be allergic to that same stuff floating around that we are. So really, if you notice, as things are blossoming and blooming, that your cat maybe has some runny eyes, your cat seems to
Mhm.
be trying to catch her breath, almost the same symptoms that we would have as people. Be sure to run that by your vet, because it's very possible that your cat does have some type of seasonal allergy.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic to know, because cat allergies, and especially in the springtime when all the plants are starting to bloom and everything, it's really really important. Now, there is a saying that I'm sure everyone has heard, which is apropos to this season, which is April showers bring May flowers. So of course, if you're in a hemisphere or part of the world where it's like winter, or we're the opposite seasons, then just remember this for when you are running into this season. And of course, this particular expression might not apply in parts of the world like Australia and everything, but for our parts of the world and for our purposes, the rainy weather and the rainy season is important to be careful of, because like my cat's asked to go out, um, and I sometimes do take them out supervised, like I said before, but not when it's wet, not when it's muddy, not when it's raining. Even though I think Emily wouldn't mind so much, getting a little wet and all that. So I think it's really really important to know. Look, so let's see. So here we have toxic Bella and Duke blog. Yes, that's exactly right. So lilies, daffodils, crocus, exactly. That's the list. And the leaf envy, the little botanical US. Yeah, perfect. So thanks for summarizing that for us. If there's a way, I'll try to figure out how to pin your comment to the top, because that's an excellent summary. That's exactly what we talked about. So thank you, Bella. I hope that's what I okay to call you, for doing that for us. So thank you very very much. But anyway, so wet cats is what we're talking about now. So cats getting wet. Like even Emily might not mind so much. I don't want her to come in wet and muddy and filthy and dirty and all that kind of stuff. So what do you suggest about that? Am I being too, I don't know, prudish or pedantic, or something about that? Should I just let her go out like a little kitty pig and just enjoy herself? Or am I being overprotective? Or is that
Well,
smart not to let the cat get soaked and
yeah,
muddy?
I'm of the ilk that you always want to err on the side of caution. So we don't really know what's in any of those things that they're rolling around in, a puddle, the dirt, mud, whatever. We don't know what's really there. And what the first thing your cat's going to do when she comes into your house is start cleaning herself. So we don't know what she's rolling around with. So naturally, we don't know what she's going to ingest when she starts to clean herself. And the fact of the matter is, when she comes into your house and starts rolling around and, you know, jumping on your furniture and your couches and so forth, you, not her, are going to be the one left to clean it up. So, I mean, I totally
Mm.
understand not wanting to have to clean big messes off your couch, off your bed, off your carpeting. And, that's completely reasonable. I mean, people who have toddlers and little kids don't want them to roll around in the mud for the exact same reason. So I think that is not out of line at all. But again, just on our theme of safety, that we don't know what's in those puddles. We don't know how long that water's been standing. We don't know what's been spilled in there. We don't know what's run off into there. So to me, I think it's just like common sense not to let your cats roll around in places that, you don't know what's been there. You don't know what's in there. That seems very reasonable to me. And I would not say that you're being too overprotective for sort of having that basic rule.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. And if you would have said, "Yeah, it's overkill, Justin," I don't think I would have changed my habits. But still, thank you for validating that. I guess Belladonna Doolittle liked my little expression there, kitty pig. So, and that reminds me, I need to remember next month when we meet to show you and everyone the birthday presents I had from my partner, because they were all cat themed, and some of them are really funny. So I thought of kitty pig because I got this book about, it's just a funny little book with colorful comics and everything, and it refers to humans from the cat's perspective as the gorilla pig. So I thought that was hilarious. So that's where I thought of it. If I'm a gorilla pig, then you're a kitty pig. So so there you go. But I'll show everyone the book and the little pen and the little cat themed stuff that I got for my birthday. But I'll have to do it next month, because if I run downstairs and all that now, it'll take too much time. But still, I need to remember that. So that's a memory jogger there for you. So yeah, so there's the issue of that. But there's one more thing when it comes to the wetness and the muddiness and all that kind of stuff. And it's something that is often overlooked, and it's something that's often overlooked in humans too, to be honest with you. And that's parasites. There are parasites in puddles of water. There are parasites in the mud, and they're not healthy parasites. Not always. They're not always there. I mean, you could go and jump in there and be fine, but you could also come back with liver flukes. They're little things that go and live in your liver or the cat's liver, and they're very dangerous, and they're not good for you. Or other things. They're little larvae, all kinds of stuff in there. So parasites is another thing to be careful, and another reason to avoid too much wet muddiness of your cat, as much as they might like to get down and dirty sometimes. That'll be another trip to the vet for more, pills and medication and stuff. So remember
Yes,
that.
especially stagnant water. Think of avoiding. I mean, I agree, avoid the whole thing. But if you're, if you have to sort of pick your battles, puddles that have been sitting there for a while, that's the prime parasite, breeding area. So you definitely want to stay away from anything that's been stagnant, that can form a microfilm that looks like it's been sitting there for a while. You guys all know your area and what the rain has been or not been, so you can kind of make that judgment. But anything stagnant in general is usually rife with bacteria, parasites. And again, if you see that little like microfilm on top, then really that's a big red flag to stay away.
Yeah, definitely. Because who knows, that might have mold, spores, or other things in it. Also, not good for you or your cat.
Right.
So let's just stay away from that. And of course, there's the famous thing, which people really have made a big deal to, blown out of proportion, because it's actually pretty rare, especially for a human to get it, which is toxoplasmosis, which people are always saying, "Oh, don't touch the cat poop," and all that. I mean, why would you want to touch the cat poop anyway? And so I wouldn't. And so, yeah, don't touch the cat poop. But your cat isn't going to have that particular parasite all the time. And it's not guaranteed they have it. And if they have it, it's not guaranteed they'll pass it to you, but they can. So we want to be careful of those things also for our own well-being, because there is a chance, even though it's a small one, that the cat can get sick. The cat can then pass it on to you, and then you get sick. So, just avoid those kind of things,
Yeah,
because
my understanding
they
is
no good.
my understanding with that, and I'm not a veterinarian, but I believe it's the most problematic in women who are pregnant. But I think aside from pregnant women, it's really not considered a huge risk for those of us who
Yeah.
are
Because
healthy.
most people don't get symptoms. So most
Yeah,
people will get it, and they don't even know they have it because they have no symptoms at all.
right,
Obviously, if you're carrying a child, that's a big deal, because the
right.
child's, and your immunity is intertwined at that point, as are the digestion and everything else. And so that could pass on to the developing fetus, and obviously they're not quite as strong as you are yet. So that will cause complications guaranteed. So obviously, a pregnant woman needs to be extra careful, but that goes without say, because that goes with for everything
Yes.
that the pregnant person is doing, whether that's, minding the cat, changing the litter box, preparing food, eating, going out. You just have to be a little bit, not too much, but a little bit extra cautious in everything that you do,
Yes,
because you're
exactly.
protecting another developing nascent life form.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
most people anyway would use the scoop or use a plastic bag at any rate. So
yeah.
yes, not one of those things I think non-cat people tend to make a big deal about that, but
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah,
the
they
reality is,
think also that it's super easy to transmit. Like I saw an episode of Family Guy. I mean, I do like that show, although I've seen every episode now. But I saw an episode of Family Guy where the cat, gets toxoplasmosis, and it turns into this evil thing that then just puts a little scratch right there on the human, and then the human has it, and then it takes over the human and turns them into a completely subservient cat slave, uh, cat person, but a slave to the cat. So they kind of made it a really big deal, but
yeah,
for comedic purposes and all that. But it really isn't like that. It's not like one little scratch from your cat and boom, you
it's
have it, and then you're like under control. So there it is. Now it says, and this is interesting because from our understanding, it's usually from consuming raw food or eating mice. Very unlikely in indoor cats, right?
that's
So that's true, but it's only partially true. So it's true. It's unlikely in indoor cats. It is true that you eat a mouse or some other creature that's carrying it, and that is more common. But in terms of raw food, that would be if the raw food is prepared in an unsafe way. So if the raw food is prepared in a safe way, like Bella and Duke food is prepared in a clinical standard with
mhm,
human grade meat, then there is no risk at all for any infections or pathogens or anything like that. So I want to be careful when saying that, because raw food is the best diet for cats, but you want to be careful, obviously, because if you go to a brand that isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing or cutting corners here and there, you could end up with problems with it. Or if you're preparing your own raw food, again, if you're not doing it in a safe and hygienic way, then yes, you could be introducing all kinds of bacteria and pathogens and all kinds of other stuff. But a certified sort of raw, safe production is absolutely safe. And again, in the UK, it's Bella and Duke that I know. In the USA, I'm not sure. I can tell you that Boss Cat is the reason I say they're second best is because they're freeze dried. And so, of course, any pathogen or any junk in there is going to be removed. It's going to kill it because it's going to take all the water out, and then you have to rehydrate it. So it's, in my opinion, almost raw,
mhm, yeah.
but it has gone through some processing, which is the freeze drying process. But to me, that's one step ahead and only one step below actual, raw stuff. So
And just
it
want
is,
to point out too that even, any food, you can buy a wet canned food. Any food can become a problem if people aren't careful. So if you're leaving your wet
yeah,
food out all day long for your cat, that's prime breeding ground for, all kinds of bacteria and, yucky side
definitely.
experiments that we don't want to be doing on our cats. And the same thing with the water. You really need to change the water, clean the water bowl daily because again, that microfilm can appear on top of the water, and that's a sign that things are
Mm,
brewing in there that you don't want your cat to drink. So all it's great to feed your cat the best. It's great to feed your cat high quality cat food, but all of that is going to be negated if we as people don't practice really good hygiene with our cat. So
yeah.
I see people who leave the same food out all day long for their cat, and the cat probably won't eat it because it starts to smell. It doesn't,
Yeah.
the cat can detect it's not fresh. But if the cat does eat it, if the cat has seen your cat and maybe doesn't have the best sense of
Mhm.
smell anymore, you're asking for problems. So no matter what you feed your cat, really think about practicing very, very good hygiene, keeping things fresh skills.
Yeah, definitely. And it's two things worth mentioning is that with this food, with the old food that I used to feed them, yeah, they wouldn't eat it so quickly. So it would sit there. With this food, there's no chance for it to sit there all day because they eat it quickly. Within a half hour, it's gone. But there's another thing. Even dry food and kibble, which I do not recommend, but some people insist on it. Some vets insist on it. So fine. So go ahead and do that. But even dry food and kibble, if it's not properly stored, can be a problem. Can be a deadly problem because I've heard of people who buy these large, lovely, and convenient plastic containers and stick all the kibble in there, and the kibble will develop mold. The kibble will develop toxic mold spores, and people have lost their cats to that.
Yeah,
Cats have died because of that.
And it can live in the plastic because plastic is porous and plastic can have little cracks that we don't see.
We don't see. So if you're feeding your cat kibble, that's not a automatic easy, I don't need to worry about the hygiene situation. You still do just as much as the rest of us do. And when you're storing it, you're going to want to store it in its original packaging, and then you can put it in some plastic thing. But you're not going to want to dump it into the plastic and throw away the original packaging, because then the plastic is going to absorb all the stuff, and you don't want that. So what you want is keep the original packaging, because then you also have the date, the expiry date on it and everything. But then also you have that barrier, and then you can put it in the plastic and it might look better or be more conveniently stored and everything. But we want to be careful of that, because I've heard too many cases of people losing their cats to nothing more than improper storage of dry cat food, which is supposed to be the easiest to manage, but apparently it's not. So it's a really good point about the hygiene. So thank you for bringing that up, because hygiene is really important in what we do with our cats. If you think, would you eat off of that plate, or would you eat that food that's been rotting in the heat for 6 or 7 hours? And if the answer is no, then the answer is also you should not be feeding that to your cat. Let's be honest.
Yes,
right?
because as picky as we are, cats are even pickier. Their sense of smell is much more defined than ours is. So anything that we would not want to go near, your cats are even more particular about that.
Yeah, and so it's but more than just smell. It's like you said, the
whole thing.
Film, the stuff. Would you drink that water with the icky film on the top of it? No, I wouldn't touch that. So your cats should probably not be drinking that too. And I know there's people thinking, oh, well, the cats seem to love the puddle of water outside on the street much better than they do this thing, or the water from the fish tank, or the maybe because it has a bit more flavor to it or whatever, does not mean it's good for them. Just because they go after, it's like when you go out there and you want like a Coca-Cola, a Coca-Cola will strip battery acid off a car battery. It is not something that's fit for human consumption ever. You can clean a toilet with it, but so many people love it and drink it and all that. Doesn't mean it's good for you. There's no redeeming quality to that stuff, but you do it. Same thing with your cat. They like it. They like the taste. It's not good for them. They do it anyway.
Yeah, and cats are attracted to the movement in the water. So that's usually the main reason they might go to a puddle or water outside, is that movement.
Yeah, so you can get like a cat fountain. They might like that. Although mine don't. I tried and they avoid it. So it's like, okay, so I got rid of it. So I just have to make sure I change the water on a daily basis. But they have water bowls on every floor, and I change it on every day, and they're fine. They're fine with it. So I think that's probably the moral of the story there when it comes to that. Yeah. So, the springtime has, like we said, the plants and the wetness that comes with it as well. And then there's the birds and the bees. And we mentioned a bit earlier that sometimes eating some kind of, dead bird or whatever might introduce some unhealthy pathogens into the cat. And then the insects, so we need to be careful of those things too. My cats are not very good hunters, so they don't tend to bring home any gifts. They don't tend to, catch any insects. But what would you recommend in that regard? What you recommend in terms of keeping them away from the bird feeder, away from the birds, or if I have a bird, and also with the insects, should I let them play with the little spider and fly or bee or whatever, or is that a real risk?
I feel like if you have the occasional spider or ant in your house, it's probably not a huge risk. Bees can sting cats, so that's a little bit of a different story. If I once saw one of my cats playing with something, I walked over to see what it was, and it was like one of those big puffy bumblebees. So I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And again, going back to allergies, I mean, I don't know if you know anyone who is allergic to, insect bites or bee bites, but cats can be the same way. They can be allergic as well. So, kind of use your best judgment. I don't think the occasional spider or ant is a really big worry. I think bees and birds are a whole different story. If you're letting your cat out, obviously you can't supervise the cat all the time. And many times they bring the bird home rather than eating it themselves. So then you can just toss it. I mean, most of our indoor domesticated cats, even though they have that hunter instinct and they want to chase those birds and they want to, catch the birds and sink their teeth into it and sink their claws into it, many times they don't actually eat it because they're not that hungry and they have this lovely menu that we provide for them at home. So if the cat brings home a bird, just toss the bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something almost I'm amusing myself with this one because what does come to mind when you said that is spiders. Obviously, that doesn't go for if you have like some kind of black widow
Oh, yeah,
spider or
yeah.
brown recluse spider that would kill you.
That
I
goes
mean,
without saying, I hope. Yeah.
don't let your cat play with that or the tarantula or whatever. We're talking about just the little daddy long legs or the little house spider that's not dangerous for you. It's not so dangerous for the cat. They can eat it. It's fine. It's not the best, but it's also not going to, hopefully not going to kill them. And one in a million. But yeah, but that doesn't go for the really, nasty ones. And for my friends in Australia, that doesn't go for the dinner plate sized monsters that you have over there either. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that in the same room. I'd be terrified. And I think you should keep your cat away from that thing too.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, if you're aware that there's a tarantula or a black widow in your house, you probably have bigger problems than what your cat might do. But
Yeah.
Poisonous spiders are a big no-no. The typical daddy long legs, like you said, the little ones that sort of creep in this time of year is not a big issue.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's that. So on that note, I want to not forget to introduce everyone to. We mentioned earlier that Dr. Rachel does not charge for her services. This is a gift to not humanity. It's a gift to felinity or feline, the feline world and humanity. And so if you do need, if you're thinking of, surrendering your cat, don't. At least give her a chance to help you keep your cat in its home. And it's the website is drrachelcatbehavior.com. For those of you who are listening in the future rather than watching, it's drrachelcatbehavior, drrachelcatbehavior.com. That's the website. And for anyone listening who's worried about finances and everything, All Cats All the Time, A Cat, through her website, is a nonprofit that she has started to help facilitate people getting things that they need for their cats. So please, this is accessible. This is, of course, in the United States. And so go to that website if you're thinking of surrendering your cat. Before you do, give it a chance. Free session. It's not going to cost you. Worst thing you can do is, worst case scenario, she'll give you a refund of all the money that you invested with her, which is nothing. So, so that's the thing. And Dr. Rachel, before we end off today, you reached a milestone with your book recently, didn't you? Or am I mistaken? Or was that a while ago and you just reposted it?
What was the milestone? Refresh my memory. Because
I think it was sort of it hit some bestseller category or something like that.
Yeah. So yes, because I have 4.5 stars on Amazon. So
that's the one.
Amazon 5 stars is the best you can do. My book has been deemed 4.5. So that was exciting. I mean,
and so share with us the title of the book.
So the book is called Saving the World One Cat at a Time. And 100% of the proceeds from my book go to cat shelters, cat welfare, groups that provide grants to cats. So not only does it make a great gift, we have graduations coming up, we have weddings, we have birthdays, so you can buy the book, you can learn a lot about cats, and you can know that your money is going to a very, very good cause as well. I don't make any money on the book. 100% of the money that comes my way goes out another way to help cats.
So I highly encourage everyone to go to Amazon, wherever you are, whether it's UK or US, and search for "Saving the World One Cat at a Time" by Dr. Rachel Geller, and get a copy. And then you'll be helping to save the world one cat at a time, because 100% of the profits and proceeds go, to cat shelters and cat organizations in the USA, and none of it goes to Dr. Rachel Geller. So we have two comments, and then we'll end the show. Let's see. So okay, this is good. Just be careful with spiders and ants too. Some people may put out deterrent. You don't know what chemicals people use sometimes. That's very true, because I've used it because I had an ant problem a while ago, and I put some poison on there to kill them. So you're going to want to be very careful, because that insect might be carrying something that is to kill it, but it's just not dead yet. So that's a very good one. We want to be very, very, very careful with that. And then we have, of course, yes. So Flex from the Two Crazy Cat Ladies works great with other bugs too. It absolutely does. I have some. I use it. I think Dr. Rachel knows about it. The Two Crazy Cat Ladies both have been on this show, and I highly endorse and recommend all of their products. They are phenomenal products. They are not just safe for cats. You could actually put the flea spray in your mouth and and swallow it, and it wouldn't harm you at all. That's how safe it is. So, go to it. If anyone wants it, it's, go to thekittyboss.com/2crazy /2 crazy, too crazy. kittyboss.com/2crazy, and you can get those products. So thank you for reminding us about that. And then lastly, we have a thank you from somebody who is not identifiable in this sense, but it's great. Thank you, Dr. Geller, for another great show. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Rachel, for a wonderful show. It's always been great to catch up with you. Is there anything you'd care to say or ask before we end the show?
No, just thank you very much for the shout outs, for my website, for my book, and for my foundation. Thank you.
Definitely. As you know, we're your biggest fans. So, so thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month, Dr. Rachel. So thanks, guys. Remember the 11 most common toxic plants for cats list. Again, if you need a copy or anything, then just let me know. And otherwise, remember to share this podcast, share this episode with your friends, get as many people as you can. I'm on a mission to get a million more cats adopted in the world, and all those lonely people to find a lifetime of unconditional love. And along the way, I'm helping as many people as I can with the best information out there on cats. Basically, sift, sort, and separate all that confusing crap on the internet, and showing you only what works, and omitting everything that is questionable or doubtful or we don't know. So that's kind of the sort of the mission I'm on and the work that I'm doing. Hence, we have Dr. Rachel here, the Two Crazy Cat Ladies, the founder of Bella and Duke. I'm trying to show you the best stuff because I've done all the heavy lifting. Belladonna Doolittle says, thank you both. Well, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And it's always great. And of course, thank you for, coming in and doing that. Oh, and we have one last gift for everybody. Kitty Boss 10 code is still active for Scoop Buddy. Yes, I mentioned this thing. So if you need help with your litter box, our friends at Cat Savant, which their product is called the Scoop Buddy, you can use my code and you get that discount, Kitty Boss 10. So go there. It's a really great product. So thank you for reminding us there. You should just come back on the show and we'll talk about it again. And thanks for a great show. Yes. And thank you for being here. It's been great. So we'll see you next time for another episode of Catching Up with Dr. Rachel Geller. And in the meantime, I've got some more guests cooking for you. So stay tuned and watch this space, as we like to say.